Welcome to the Foxhunt guide for the brand new DLC course, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. As with all hard courses, we have a themed putter to unlock, and we do so with the Foxhunt, and we start this with our first clue on hole number 1. So for this one, we are looking for these envelopes, these invitations, as we'll discover. And here's our first. I nearly tripped over the most curious footman, tall, thin, and rather fish-like. His satchel was torn, scattering letters everywhere. He fussed. A most intolerable dispersal. I must deliver the Queen's invitations in time for the croquet game, but my satchel burst and the envelope spilled down the stairs. So there we have our first clue. The stairs is of course found at hole number 2. So when we send ourselves in there and shrink down, we need to head down this stairway. So I'm going to speed this up. And there at the bottom, we see our next invitation. An envelope lay at the bottom of the stairs, but the footman fretted still. Where are the rest? The wind must have borne them away. Perhaps the dodo who nests just outside might have seen them. So of course the dodo we see down by hole number 3 and number 4. And number 4 is home to the nest, so that's where we're going to send ourselves now. And there we see our next envelope. There's the dodo, and there it is. An envelope was tangled in the nest. The footman sighed with solemn relief. The dodo gathered it only for its domestic convenience. No ill intent at all. Let us proceed to the crossroads of the Tulgey Wood. With any luck, the remaining invitations haven't scattered in both directions. So we're looking for the crossroads here, and that can be found down by hole number 10. When we send ourselves down there, we can see the Mad Hatter one way, the March Hare the other, and in between them is our next clue. The paths of the Tulgey Wood wound this way and that until we reached a curious crossroads. I could not tell which way was forward. The footman cleared his throat. There is a fellow who sits upon a mushroom between the Duchess's house and the White Rabbit's house. Insolent, yes, but sometimes willing to advise. Let us consult the caterpillar. So this caterpillar, if you've played through, you will notice is sat up at hole number 7, perched up there, getting high as a kite, and there is the next clue. A trail of shimmering bubbles led to the caterpillar. When asked about the lost invitations, he languidly pointed up the hill and said, "Roots that cannot walk, yet tongues that never rest. Seek where the petals prattle, and you may find what has blown astray." So some wise words there from a pretty high caterpillar. Up the hill, we are going to the previous, which is hole number 6. And where the petals prattle, where the plants are talking, down by the flag, we can see our next clue. The blossoms giggled over an envelope tangled in their stems, lamenting that it had not blown into the Duchess's house instead. They would have relished how gravely insulted she would be seeing another invited before herself. I snatched it away before they could cackle further. The footman paled. They're right. Should the Duchess see another's invitation before her own, she would take it as the worst possible slight. We must ensure she sees none but her own. And so we are heading for the Duchess now, and she can be found inside the building at hole number 8. I love that colour wash mechanic. When you get close to an object here, the colour washes through it. It's a brilliant way of illustrating the artwork. Anyway, into the house, here we can see down on the floor is our next one. Thankfully, the Duchess had not noticed the invitation amidst the racket of her estate. The footman dabbed at his brow. Intimidating, you think? The Duchess is practically a paragon of civility compared to some other denizens. Consider, if you will, the Jabberwock. Its menace is truly without equal. The jaws that bite, the claws that catch. And so we are looking for this Jabberwock, and we will find it by hole number 11. There it is now, much smaller. Presumably it's drunk the potion. And here is our next clue. Though my knees shook, I stood my ground and snatched the invitation from beneath the very claws of the Jabberwock. Though never in danger himself, the footman turned pale at the thought of where the next letter might lie. Another may have drifted into that perpetual tea party across the bridge. The Hatter was not invited. Imagine the scandal should he discover an invitation and presume himself welcome. So we are going to the infamous Mad Hatter's Tea Party, and that can be found down by hole number 12. And there we see it in full flow, and the letter we find on this cake. I tucked the letter safely away without the Mad Hatter noticing. Then from somewhere ahead came a dreadful clatter. The footman winced. That stamping, that scuffling surely must be the quadrille. A most unsuitable place for a royal correspondence. An invitation there could be trodden to fragments under crustacean feet. So we are heading onwards, a couple of holes now, to number 14. And as we shrink down, we need to head past these spinning creatures. Lots and lots of animated characters in this course. And as we go past them, here we can see the next letter. The quadrille stamped and scuffled on, but I managed to rescue the letter before it was trampled. But then the footman sniffed at the air and frowned. Fresh paint? Those gardeners are painting the roses red to avoid Her Majesty's wrath again. The invitation must not be stained. The Queen of Hearts' summons must not be besmirched by drips and splashes. So the paint can be found on our next hole, which is number 15. And we're now tiny again, so as we look up, just come this side of the paint can, at the base of the ladder, there we see our next letter. Fortunately, the final letter was not splashed with paint. The footman exhaled with relief. At last, all invitations are recovered. One duty remains. The Queen demands proper account of her guests. We must gather their RSVPs lest any claim exemption. First, we shall deliver the dodo's invitation. One can only hope it does not attempt to line its nest with this correspondence, as it nearly did with the last. So we're returning to the dodo, which is at hole number 3, and this time we're going to the dodo itself rather than to the nest on hole 4. And straight down here, down by this rock, is our invitation. I secured the dodo's reply, which it presented with grave importance, as though it were conferring a prize. The footman pursed his lips. And now the cat. I remain baffled that such a creature was invited at all. It delights in disorder. Still, Her Majesty insists, and we must obtain its answer. So the cat can be found down by hole number 9. So when we send ourselves down there and let the colour wash over, down just before the smile, we can see our next clue. I coaxed a reply from the cat, who vanished before I could thank it. The footman wrung his hands. Next are the March Hare and Dormouse. Most inconvenient that they sit with the Hatter, who was not invited. Perhaps we can contrive to gather their replies without giving him any ideas. And so we are heading now back to the Mad Hatter's Tea Party, but this invitation needs to be hidden from the Hatter. So at hole number 12, we head over towards the creature on the left, and there, just behind the candelabra, is our clue. I asked for the replies of the March Hare and Dormouse as discreetly as I could, but the Hatter's eyes narrowed with suspicion. He said nothing, but I hurried away before questions could be asked. The footman exhaled uneasily. I do hope that Hatter does not mistake himself invited. He is precisely the sort to appear unbidden. Now then, to the White Rabbit, a guest of good and proper standing. So this White Rabbit we will find down by hole number 5. We are now giant, and the rabbit on our left stands next to the clue. I found the White Rabbit bustling about. He nearly dropped everything when I asked for his reply, but managed a polite bow as he produced it. The footman nodded. A model of punctuality, if somewhat breathless. Now only the Duchess remains. I shall deliver her invitation myself. Meet me at the castle, where we will present all the responses in proper form to the Queen. So we're now heading to our final clue. That is found, of course, by hole number 18. And there, just in front of the royalty, who we bow before, we see our final letter. The footman and I presented the replies to the Queen. She glanced over them, then clapped her hands once. Most satisfactory. You shall have an invitation. Take this flamingo, it will serve you well enough. So I know many of you would have been hoping for this putter, and they have delivered. There is our flamingo putter, which is one of my favourites of all the recent Foxhunt rewards. So we'll give this one a test just to make sure that it's working properly. And we'll do so, I think, at hole number 3, largely because it's about the only hole that I feel confident I can hole in one with just minimal editing that you didn't see there. Oh no, that wasn't a cut. There we go, works first time, right? Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this fox hunt. It really helps to embellish a story-themed course like this one. If you have enjoyed the video, please do leave me a like. Drop me a comment down below with your thoughts on the course and the concept and how they've executed it. And please do, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. It will keep you informed of future content. Thank you again for joining me for this fox hunt. I look forward to seeing you out in Alice's Adventures in Wonderland.